to 20K in that one candle. He was
Mm-hmm.
saying something like you always need to let the data dictate. Because if you remember in 2022 when the Fed was like, "Yo, we're gonna hike rates," and things are not gonna look good for you for a minute, right? And so like the Bulls were like, "Oh no, it's the super cycle. The super cycle is still on. The super cycle is still on." And I kind of feel like Bears are in the same camp. Like, oh, just you wait. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait, man. So it's like, dude, even if like this is the top or whatever, even though I don't think it's the top, it's sort of like, damn, bro, you missed a move of like 500, 600, 700% on some of these
Yeah.
assets, and now like you want to justify like, oh, I told you we would dip. And it's like, it's sort of like that meme, if you know, when that doomer guy is like, haha, you'll be screwed when the music is over. It's like, yeah, bro, but you're only up like 3% year to date, buddy, hedging with T-bills,
Definitely.
right? So yeah,
No,
yeah.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I think also no one really knows. Not even the Fed knows, because like I think it was in beginning of 2021 or like mid 2021. They were like, yeah, we're not gonna raise rates. It's okay. And then boom, they started raising rates. That's also why you have like all of these banking issues, because the banks believe them and they loaded up on this long duration treasuries, and then they got fucked. And with respect to the trend, then I think, at least for me, it's very clear we are in bull territory, because bad
Hell
news
yeah,
will
dude.
make a dent and good news pump. And it's the complete inverse. I mean, it was the complete inverse last year. Any good news that would come out would be like, eh. And any bad news would just like nuke it 10, 15%. And that's how I usually tell if we are like bullish or bearish. It's just how the market responds to news.
So like from your experience, you've been with Gains Network for a while. Like, do protocols typically look at things like macro, all that stuff, equities? Do you guys look at any of that as you're navigating and implementing all these things?
Not really. I mean, us specifically, we do offer trading for all of this like asset, like stocks and indices, commodities, etc. I mean, crypto obviously and forex. But we always take kind of like a risk neutral approach where we set up this risk management contingencies, um, like setting up a maximum OI per asset class or per trading pair, different types of fees per pair, um, maximum, um, how do you say it? Maximum like win limit. Like with a single trade, you can make a maximum of 900%. Or you cannot go indefinitely up. We have all of these like risk management measures. We just implement them regardless if we think it's gonna go up or down. I just know. I mean, I look a lot into market because I just invest with my own capital, and I also partially work with a fund of funds company, and there is like a lot of macro talk, and I have to be up to date with all of this stuff, or try to. Um, but yeah, us personally in gains, no, not really. We are very security minded. So everything we do, we try to minimize the risks.
Yeah, man. I see you guys offer a lot of stuff via G Trade and all of those things. You guys also have like NFT implementations, and really out of like most of the dexes that offer like synthetics and all that stuff. You guys offer the biggest variety in all of those things. So I find that pretty interesting, man. How did the concept for Gaines Network come up? Did it start with something like what synthetics wanted to have, and then it was quickly phased out? They didn't really offer much outside of a few pairs.
Mm-hmm. Uh, well, how or why it started, I cannot really tell you because I mean we are a bit weird. The protocol itself, it was launched by one guy only, Seb. I think Seb is sleeping right now, so he couldn't join us. And he just launched the protocol on Ethereum. I think when was it? I think it was beginning of 2021, but I might be wrong. No, no, no. I'm pretty sure it's beginning of 2021 because 2020 beginning was COVID. He launched it on Ethereum mainnet, and I was like there day one as an investor, or more like a gambler because it was like a micro cap that no one knew. So I was like, let's go micro cap, 100x dream, let's do it. And then I just really liked the concept. And after talking with Seb and just like seeing him, he was like very present on the chat and always answering questions and everything. I was inspired by him. And at some point, I kind of joined the team, not really officially because there was no team. Now we do have a proper team. We are setting up a foundation as well. We have a proper development team. We have marketing team, researchers. So we have a big team behind. But at the beginning, it was just Seb, and I guess it was like there is no really dominant or the concept, I guess, of an on-chain leverage platform, synthetic leverage platform doesn't exist, and he decided to build one. But we'll need Seb to exactly know what actually motivated him to do this.
Yeah, no problem at all, man. I guess we can just go into more general market discussion, then we can kind of filter that back into games, man. So, man, over the last 12 months, there have been so many new developments. Like, now we have Move EVM, we have layer zeros and all that stuff. And I know in previous
Mm-hmm.
conversation privately, we were talking about like, there's no need for all crazy dilution. Not everybody wants to have dozens and dozens of wallets. Everyone kind of wants to have a one-stop shop. Yeah. So with you guys
Mm-hmm.
taking a lot of traction within Arbitrum, where do you see the most like development on these chains over the next few years? Do you think like everything is going to gravitate more towards Ethereum, and that activity is going to take place towards Arbitrum, or do you still think we're going to be stuck in this mess of dilution where everyone wants to fork GMX, everyone wants to like build another layer two on a layer one, and really all these crazy things, sort of like I call it the pandemic of fragmented liquidity, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
you have that happen, you end up on these chains that like end up being they end up rebranding as community change, aka
Yeah.
bag holder chains. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like what happened with EOS and IOTA and all of this 2017 dinosaur tokens that I guess like people that are relatively new to crypto don't even know. I mean, that's a good question. I think it comes in cycles, and it also really depends on how well funded these other layer ones are. Because if they're able to emit or give incentives, then people will build. And with build, I don't really mean like innovating stuff. It can be forks and stuff like that. Um, I do see what I see different about Arbitrum and Optimism, obviously in Ethereum mainnet as well, is that you do have unique projects. So you do have people that are building either projects from zero or they do fork from some existing protocol, but they make like real changes. So it's not like, oh, we changed the name of the token and we changed the supply and the emission schedule and tada, that's it, new protocol. No, in Arbitrum and Optimism and Ethereum mainly, you see true innovation. You did see that in Solana. I guess that was partially also because Solana is not EVM, doesn't have an Ethereum virtual machine, so it wasn't as easy to just copy paste code. So you really have to come up with new implementations. But to be honest, in most chains, obviously you do see innovation in all of these like other layer ones, etc. But in most chains, you see copies of existing protocols that were or are successful in Ethereum mainnet or Arbitrum or Optimism or Polygon. Um, but I do think, yeah, it comes in waves and it depends on how well capitalized these other chains are. I think, but I do see something special in this layer twos built on top of ETH.
Snorlax, if you want to chime in, feel free to do so, man. I know you're a big fan of all things Arbitrum, so at any moment, man, you're more than welcome to, brother. But yeah, with that being said, bro, about Gains Network. So with all the data that we've discovered with Gains Network and the markets that you guys provide, are you guys planning on expanding towards like having synthetics towards other markets, maybe like the DAX or even like the French stock market, which by the way made a new all-time high yesterday, and I truly think it's only the beginning, man. Isn't that
Yeah,
kind of funny, man? Like all this like doom and gloom, and it's like just go outside, man. It's really not that bad.
and I think it went up because of the what was it? Macron made a visit to China, or some Chinese ambassador visited France, something like that.
I really have no idea, man. I have
I
no
think I
idea.
think it
I
was
just saw
related
it.
to China because now everyone is doing deals with China. Um,
Yeah, they're becoming like a superpower, man. I don't think that's gonna stop until someone like Donald Trump or like Ron DeSantis comes into the U.S. Oval Office.
I mean, might be right. I think. Uh, I mean, there is this chart from Ray Dalio where you can see the average lifespan of empires, and empire is just like whatever country or set of countries that are dominating the global sphere, and it usually lasts 100 years, and it's just normal. Like all civilizations go through the golden age, and then there's some decadence that always happens, and it's just part of human nature. But I guess I might digress too much if we start talking about this. Going back to gains, of course, we have plans of pretty much adding, we can add any asset, first of all. So with our infrastructure, we have a custom DON, a decentralized Oracle network, using Chainlink, where it allows us to take price feeds from multiple sources. We take the Oracle managers, they take the median of these price sources and they emit a response for, let's say, the price of Apple stock. We have these 8 Oracle, they have a name, I forgot how to call them now. Let's call them like Oracle, Chainlink Oracle managers. They emit a price, and then our DON takes the median of the responses, and that's the price that we show on gains. We do this pretty much to filter out scam wicks. So if all price feeds, um, let's say two of them say the price of Apple is 4K, then they will be filtered out pretty much. And it also applies to crypto. If there is like a scam wick on Binance, then it's going to be filtered out. And so people will not get rug pulled on our platform. And because of our synthetics infrastructure, we can list any asset. We currently have 45 crypto pairs, 17 forex, 23 US stocks, 4 US indices, and 2 commodities. We will keep expanding within all of these categories, not only US stocks, but also European stocks, Japanese stocks. It's pretty much whatever the community wants to trade, we can bring it up. Eventually, there might not be enough price feeds right now, but there will eventually be. And then we enter into like really cool stuff, which is not ready yet. So I don't want to hype people. It's not happening soon, but we can do cool stuff like, I don't know. What do you think about a Tesla Doge pair? We could do something like that. We can do oil gold or gold BTC. We we can
Speaking of gold, bro, isn't gold like a 2% move from hitting all
today.
time high, man?
Yeah. It was insane
Yeah,
after the CPI.
I find that to be pretty cool, man. I find that to be very cool, man. Extremely cool. But dude, let me ask you, man. With everything that you guys are doing with Gains Network, are there any plans to integrate with Egan Layer? Because they're essentially building out like the ultimate infrastructure for all of Ethereum. And like they might
Mm-hmm.
take away some market share as far as like the Oracle solution goes for Chainlink,
Mm-hmm.
and just like multiply Ethereum's overall capital market share globally by a factor of 100, in my opinion. So I wanted to know like your takes on what they're building, and
Mm-hmm.
if there would be any sort of like collaboration between the two. So that's sort of like it brings us back to the previous discussion that we had with market dilution. There's no need for all these alternative layer ones for no reason. Everything can just kind of be compact. And from our previous discussion, it's sort of like we're kind of like in the post.com crash where everything is finding some consolidation between a handful of companies, right? Or in this
Mm-hmm.
case, protocols. So for next cycle, there still might be these alt layer ones, but I don't think they'll reach like those crazy evaluations as they did last cycle. Where you had like five protocols having almost $100 billion in evaluation. At least at least that's just myself, because a lot of the activity that went on last cycle on other alt L1s, like why would I leave Arbitrum or Optimism? For what reason? I can stay in one wallet. It's quick, it's fast, it's cheap. It has security, and with the implementation of Eigenlayer, which I mean, from the looks of it, I believe they launched like Q4 of this year, first half of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I leave that security? For what reason?
I mean, I think your arguments make sense, and also especially during the previous run up, Arbitrum wasn't really there, or Optimism, they weren't really there. They were like in the very initial phases. And I also think a lot of people jumped into these layer ones because they were new in this cycle. So they had kind of the chance to make it because they were late. They weren't, but that's in their mind they were. So they were going into these other layer ones to try and make it too. And yeah, I mean, they might not have a run, but they might actually have a run because I mean it's stuff I don't really want to shit on a project, but stuff like Cardano, for example, has never made sense to me because it's just promises. But then if you ask, I mean, I've had a lot of people like newcomers into crypto, like friends of mine or family members, and then one of the first projects they talk about is Cardano because it's like on the main on ramps like Coinbase, or here in Europe we have Bitpanda and these other like sexes, and they see Cardano and it's so cheap, uh, and I guess I don't know. I mean, they get a lot of news about Cardano, but then when you actually know a bit more, then Cardano is good for like university research. I think they a lot of PhDs and stuff like that, they use Cardano, but there is no actual DeFi. Uh, I believe because their UTXO model is a bit incompatible with DeFi. Uh, Talking
It
about Icon,
hasn't really been stress tested, to be honest. It's never been stress tested. Like you look
I
at
mean, I
something like
remember they
Solana,
launched this DEX like 2 years ago or a year ago, and then they realized that only one person could swap at a time because of the UTXO model. And I don't know if they fixed it or they were planning on fixing it, but I just remember that happening. And then it hasn't really taken
yeah,
off as a like
I
DeFi within Cardano.
I think it's mainly because all they have is Charles, and they don't really have any community thought leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is with Solana, dude. We had so many Solana influencers. Harmony, I mean, dude, Harmony had like all the VCs that were community influencers, right? Like they were influencers, but they were also VCs as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then Avalanche had Suzu. Terra, my gosh, man, Terra had
Everyone.
Terra had so many people in it, dude. Like, if you were a fund, like out of principle, you were in Anchor. Like you were just in Anchor.
Yeah.
And now it's like all of these guys have just fizzled away. But maybe with Solana, maybe like it can be rebuilt from the ashes, right? But I noticed that like a lot of the people that went into Solana are now in like the more newer things like Say and Sui. Sui's oh my gosh, man. You're talking about raising $4 billion in a round in a series B round. Like what? What are you trying to do, bro? Is this like ICP 2.0, dude? Like it's ridiculous thing, dude. Like,
I
damn,
know.
bro. Like, tell me you want to dump on me without telling me you want to dump on me, dude.
But I
It's a
think
bit
it's
of a
with that much money
controversial
that they
take,
raise,
man.
then they can make really good marketing and then find a lot of people, a lot of retail that will buy their token and they will have a lot of liquidity to dump on, which is sad.
Yeah, yeah,
And
man,
t-
yeah.
talking about Eigenlayer, um, I'm not really sure. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's this like rehypothecation of like staked ETH. So you can be validating ETH and then like validating the Ethereum chain, and then you can use that locked collateral to like validate other chains or do other stuff. Is it
Yeah,
that?
yeah. Basically, like in a nutshell, it's basically like Anchor, but the yield is real. That's what it is. Like you essentially take the like if we take cryptocurrency, right? This is going to be a bit of a controversial take, and like it might hurt some feelings or whatever. But if we're on here, right? If we look at the cryptocurrency market cap, yeah, all of
Hmm.
them, and you say which token is the most used out of all of crypto? It's Ethereum. Ethereum is used more in all of crypto than anything else, more than Bitcoin, more than any other token. Like in Arbitrum and Ethereum, in Arbitrum and Optimism, Ethereum is like the token to move around, right? To exchange for other tokens. What do
Uh-huh.
you use when you bridge? What do you use when you bridge? You use Ethereum. There always has to be some sort of synthetic, right? Everyone
Hmm.
wants to have an EVM, right? Like if you're a layer one and you don't have a bridge to Ethereum, like who are you, bro? You know what I mean? Like who's gonna use you? Nobody, man. It's gonna be what I call an airdrop ecosystem, where it's
Hmm.
just airdrop money funneling around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what will it work next cycle? Who knows, man? Like who knows? Like even though the alt layer ones kicked off in 2020 and 2021, they were a bit different than the other ones from 2017 because like they were just ERC20 tokens that had a website and a wallet. That's all they had, you know, but the next cycle, 2020, 2021, it was a bit different. You know, you had things like bridging, synthetic assets,
Hmm.
borrowing and lending, basically DeFi, yeah? So, like, the next one, it's probably going to be some sort of gamification into this whole process, and some scalability solutions
Hmm.
and all that stuff, so that when things do kick off, I know I know that, like, man, this is kind of wishful thinking, but perhaps the activity for the next cycle, right, on Ethereum does happen on Arbitrum and Optimism, right? So that way, like, Ethereum won't really be known as something where you need to have a couple of $100 for every transaction.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to take some time for people to go from mainnet to Optimism and Arbitrum, because really, like, we're the individuals right now in the market that have survived the bear market are the only ones that are really, like, cognizant of things like bridging, right? I don't think a good portion of that retail has moved over to the more like technological side of things,
Hmm.
even though it's not really like that hard. But
I think
um,
account
yeah, man.
abstraction is also gonna facilitate all of this. Like this, I think it's called Instadap. They released this avocado wallet. I don't know if you've checked it out, but it's pretty cool. It has this like meta network called Avocado, and you kind of like deposit your assets through there, and it pretty much lets you interact with any protocol on any of the integrated networks, so like Optimism, Arbitrum, Ethereum mainnet. I think they have like Phantom and Avalanche and stuff like that. And you don't really need to care which blockchain you're interacting with. You have this like meta layer where you deposit your funds, and then it's all handled in the backstage, kind of, which I think is the way to go forward. It's also one of the things we really focus on at Gains is improving the UX and the UI, where the trader in our case doesn't need to know that they're on Arbit. I mean, hopefully that's the end goal. They don't need to know that they're on Arbitrum or Polygon or what the fuck MetaMask is or what the 12 words are, or they need to like go into another page to bridge and change the RPC. Like it's a hassle. It's imagine if you had to manually set up your router, um, and you have to like manually input the IP address that you're gonna be interacting with to talk with someone. Or if you when you set up WhatsApp, you have to set up the encryption, the end-to-end encryption manually with the other person. It would be a hassle. But all of these Web2 apps, they handle everything in the background. And I think that's where we're gonna end up. Also, we want to get more people into DeFi. It needs to be made seamless and foolproof. And I think account abstraction is gonna work wonders with this. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, that all that stuff I agree with. It's a bit too. It's sort of like a bit out of my realm. It's a bit too technical, but I understand what you're saying in that
Mm-hmm.
regards. But I wanted to know your thoughts on, like, how does Gains Network look like if they were to collaborate with, like, a modular tech stack, something like, I know, like, Caldera is building out a modular system within Ethereum, compared to things like Celestia that might be building on a different ecosystem. So I wanted to know, like, all right, we have these more complex protocols that are a bit far out on the tech aspect. So
Mm-hmm.
for the end user, right? For the end user, and this is why I brought you on. Like, you're more knowledgeable than I am when it comes to, like, I can get into technicals, but not like so deep in the trenches. I'm still navigating my way around that. But how does that look like for the end user? Something like Gains Network being implemented on a modular tech stack. What would be some of the benefits that that would provide? Because eventually, with what you guys are building out, you know, you could implement things like futures and things of that nature.
Hmm.
And also, I know you guys have like some NFT esque perps, and you know that's something else that's very interesting. So I wanted to know your thoughts on all those things. How does that look like
Hmm.
for the end user?
But I mean, I don't know how good of an answer I can give you because I'm also not that knowledgeable. I'm not a dev myself. Uh, I just like to read a lot about crypto and not only like the projects, of course, and the tokenomics, but also the technicals. For the end user, I think our vision is that they shouldn't the end user shouldn't really know or have like notice or interact with the middleware. So I think the best way I could describe it is the end user should feel like they're using a centralized exchange, which I mean we're making improvements towards it. If someone uses Gains, they can open a one CT wallet, which what it does is it creates this proxy wallet um, within your browser, kind of like MetaMask. You have full custody of it, and you pretty much you give it the right to trade for you. So you just need to send some gas into it. You keep the DAI in your own MetaMask, let's say, and once you have it set up with gas, when you go into Gains and you set up your trade, like you put the leverage that you want and the pair that you want, you select your stop losses, you take profit, everything. You click open, like the long and the short, and it does it instantly. It takes like, I think Defiant made a video. We worked with them and they made this really cool video showing it, and it's instant. And that's the kind of experience that we need to give the end user. And I think this not only applies to gains, but to any DeFi app. You know, hopefully at some point, and I mean hopefully because it needs to happen if we want to bring people into DeFi or bring DeFi to people, is we need to make it accessible. And right now, if you are like any person that's currently listening to this, they are skilled. They're probably in the 0.1% of the population that has learned to do this. But we cannot expect 10, 20, 30, 50 percent of the population doing this because they either don't care or they don't have the time to learn. So uh, no matter what tech stack the platform uses or middleware or modular blockchain, um, it should be seamless for the end user.
You think we'll ever reach a point where phones will be integrated with within these protocols? Like, this is gonna sound really far fetched, but like, imagine something where like you have an app store dedicated to DeFi, right? Integrated with
Mm-hmm.
your phone, and you just download the Gains Network app, and it opens right there for you, and you sign in with Ethereum, and you know it's done there right for you. Although the blockchain phone has been tried many times. The Solana phone, I don't even know what happened to that stuff. If you remember Pundi X, I forgot what they rebranded to. But I know they were more of a payment solution, and I know
Steering labs, no?
also, yeah, them as well. But Ron Chen, he has a product. I can't recall what it is, but it came out in like February of 2018 at like $100, and it was just down only after that. His name's Ron Chen. Yeah, yeah. Let me like look him up. Let me look him up real quick. Ron Shen
I mean, I
crypto.
think we need to evolve towards a mobile friendly DeFi front end, let's say. Um, because I mean, we can't expect people to carry their laptop around everywhere they go, and they have to like fucking
Yeah.
open it in the bus because they they need to fucking log into MetaMask and panic sell. You know, you can't expect people to always carry some desktop. And I mean, you have stuff like
Yeah.
MetaMask Mobile and Trust Wallet and whatever, but it's just not enough. It's not good enough for people. Like the implementations are really clunky, and most DeFi apps they don't work well with MetaMask Mobile, Trust Wallet, and all of this stuff.
Yeah. I believe there is or there was a project, as I mentioned, from Wrongton. It's called Elastos. They
Elastos
had like
sounds similar,
they had
familiar.
some. Yeah, yeah. I can put it up on the Nest, but I would advise caution for anybody in the audience to like interact with any of that stuff, man. It was some super hype thing. They had some TV, they had like an iOS device and all that stuff. But I'm gonna
But
put it
like
up
a
on the
blockchain
Nest so
OS or
people
like a hardware?
like a blockchain OS. I put it up on the Nest. Again, this is a Dino project. It's very very out there, but I put it up on the Nest. It's a project that's like 5 years old, and they're getting nowhere. It's sort of like
Elastos.
there was this one thing called Syntivate, and it was like a Web3 browser, right? The universal web, the next integration
Mm-hmm.
of the mobile internet running on a blockchain. And as you use everything, you would get rewarded for it, and it would have this like super secret zero knowledge proof uh security and all that stuff. And um again, it's out there, right? But not many people even use it, and it doesn't even get updated at all. Like the team barely even posts on social media, and those things happen, man.
I mean, I think a lot of visionaries, they are on the right path. They're just early. Like this, I forgot his name. You remember Second Life? It was like this simulator, uh, kind of like game that you had like your second life in it. You could like own a house and go work and stuff like that. This guy was pretty much building, well, this guy and his team building the metaverse, but this was in, I don't know, 2005 or 2006. So he was super early. He was a visionary. I guess he saw how the world would develop, but he just was too early. The technology was not there to meet his vision, and I guess the public was not there. They were like, "What the fuck? I'm not gonna be at home on my Windows XP machine on the fucking Second Life." But probably this. I mean, I'm not really familiar with this Elastos. It does sound familiar. I'm checking the website. But they probably had something like that. They had the vision, and they are probably right, just too early.
Yeah, the guy's name's wrong, and he's he's like an ex-employee for Microsoft and all those things.
Hmm.
And I guess he just didn't get in touch with like the degen side of the community, and it's just too technical. And if you're too technical, then like you're just not gonna have that reach towards the crypto ecosystem, right? Because a lot of us in here, man, like we're degens. We like to gamble, right? We like to have that high adrenaline experience. And if you're trying to do all this technical crap where you can't really explain it without using this like huge terminology, like you're just not gonna have much users, right? And a big part of that is like things on Cosmos, right? Like everything there is just so technical, and that's why it's mainly just airdrop money, man. It's airdrop money being pushed around, and some of these liquidity pools. I understand it was a bear market. It was a bear market, right? I don't think we're in one anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like, some of these pools, dude, they don't even have 100,000 in them. That means like if there's 100,000 in a liquidity pool, that really only means like only 30K is like 30, 40K is able to be pushed out, right?
Yeah,
It's
definitely.
not like everything can just go to zero unless like they actually rug it, because there is market making that goes on in some of these protocols, but not with these community funded chains, man, at all. But Snorlax, I know you wanted to say something. You got off mute like 10 minutes ago or something. If you want to say something, brother, go on ahead, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. Just been listening, tuning in. Nice to meet you, brother. I consider myself a trader, so I'm very tuned into what Dex products are doing and kind of where I hope they're headed in the future. But I was just gonna say, I think because you were talking about some of these valuations that we're seeing right on some of these L1s, Wabi, and I do think, some of the bloated valuations that we're seeing in some of these raises create an interesting dynamic that I have to consider now heading into the next cycle, right? In terms of my capital allocation and investment propositions. If you're a crypto gem hunter, if you're viewing it through that lens, do I think I can necessarily hit a 100x on all of these, L1 valuations as they come out? Probably not, but
Mm-hmm.
I do know I can definitely probably get 3, 4, 5x. So I think it's just kind of a different approach to this cycle that a lot of people will likely be taking. And what really made me think about it was I was speaking with a friend. His at is Pool 2 Poly. If you guys follow him, he's a really bright guy. Highly recommend you check him out. But he was saying to me that Solana's FDV at the start of last cycle was only 50 million. So, if we're benchmarking it against that, and obviously that's probably unfair given the growth of the space that we've seen since then, but you do have to take it into account a little bit. I think it's worth considering. I think essentially what I'm trying to get at, guys, right, is that I think that the most optimal, percentage gains that people will find, I do think they're probably going to come out of DeFi and, once again, out of on chain like they did in the last bull run. Um, and I think that's increasingly likely as you have the essentially like the token, the network token, um, with I wouldn't call it limited upside, but already a pretty high floor is probably the
Mm-hmm.
way I would frame it.
FDV on that was, I believe, close close to like 800 million, something like that, and that's roughly the FDV of Say Network at the current moment. So
I like to
you
say,
know
yeah, I think
yeah,
it's different than I mean Bobby, it's different than your
yeah.
traditional layer one in that it's a very trading focused blockchain. So um, yeah, that's what I would have to say about that. But I do think they're different, and I think we're going to increasingly get into this or headed towards this path where you'll probably have a lot of these layer ones that just have very, very niche and specific utilities. But I think that's ultimately good for the space where it's definitely DeFi is definitely suffering from liquidity fragmentation as a whole.
I'll pass it over to Will. He's a trader as well. And yeah, man, there's some stuff coming out with the Say ecosystem, and we'll see how all that stuff looks like. I think their mainnet comes out in the summertime. So Will, go ahead, brother.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, I'm finishing my food real quick. Dude, I've been watching so much stuff. Like, I'm loving the price action right now. And when I say price action, like, I know a lot of people are chasing green, Like I chase red all day. Like I look at things that are just getting crushed, demolished. Like I love crushed assets. Things that see like little movement and little movement and little movement. I think ICT looks amazing. I know a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. I know it sounds weird, but I think Zen Crypto looks really amazing. I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. Um, I think Arbitrum looks really amazing. I think a lot of people aren't paying attention to it. I think a lot of people are looking at things that ran last cycle and not paying attention to the new things that are going to have new valuations going into the next cycle. I really have a lot of upside potential. I think Cadena is another one too, a POW network that a lot of people just aren't paying attention to that has great potential, especially with there being limited amounts of POW networks now with Ethereum moving over to POS and there being that desire there for POW networks. And a lot of people just aren't paying attention to that either. Flux is another one too, which is a great support network for a lot of those like Cadena and many other networks. They support many networks and are partnered with tons of networks. And a lot of people aren't paying attention to that one either. I think the upside potential on a lot of these it's insane. They have crazy partnerships. No one talks about them, and like I'm just throwing out some gems out there that I'm kind of paying attention to and looking at myself. I'm also looking at launch pads. Something else I discussed. I don't remember who I discussed it with one of you. I'm looking at storages because when you start to go into a bull run, you look at NFTs, you look at different platforms and where they need to put their stuff. They have to go into storage platforms, and those storage platforms start to build value off of more and more projects, coming into play. And those projects start to come more and more into play into that bull run, right? You start to accumulate more and more projects, and that creates a buying pressure on storage platforms. So that storage platform scenario starts to really ramp up. So you got things like Filecoin, Filecoin, things like that really start to take off going into the bull run, and people get on those trains way too late. And they do veer off at the end too because they become a sell-off position because those storages aren't needed anymore going back into the parallel. So just throwing that stuff out there just so people can think a little deeper on those things. I think looking into the dark versus looking into what everybody else is eyeballing is a little more ideal for if you're really looking to build businesses into the market. I like how the market is holding back on altcoins and really pushing on Bitcoin because that's where everybody's eyes are focused. And I think people should look where everybody's eyes are focused versus where everybody's eyes are focused.
Well, are you using a new mic today, brother?
My bad. I was on the car phone, so it might have sounded a little bit different.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man. Yeah, proof of work chains, man. I honestly have not really gotten into them outside of Cadena and also it's this one ticker KAS, and I have no idea what it does. I just have a friend. Here on Twitter that shares it a lot and share some of like the similarities and all that stuff and comparisons and in like market cap and all those things. But um, I wonder how like more of this proof of work DeFi stuff is gonna look like. Luna man, have you ever experimented on things like that? I know, like, gosh, man, BTC DeFi. I don't even know if that's gonna be something that really kicks off, man. But I know there's one thing called Xenon Network that's been out for a number of years, and like I remember back in December when I'm like, man, BTC DeFi might be the one thing that takes us to 100K because it's definitely not going to be like, oh, it's a store of value. It's a store of value.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be that at all, man. It's going to be a bunch of speculation like it was in the last run, right? With the ETF and all that stuff. So, man, what are your thoughts on like proof of work
I got a
DeFi?
meeting real quick, but thanks for having me up. I'll try and jump back on when I'm done.
No problem.
Thanks.
No problem, man. No problem, brother.
I mean, I'm not really into like I don't know what's new about proof of work DeFi. Um, I mean, I guess in terms of how it works, it's the same as proof of stake DeFi, right? It's just a proof of work chain. Um, I'm not really familiar
Yeah,
with projects work. I mean, is there any difference between like
really, dude, really, it's just like, oh, we can do that as well. But it's like there's not the talent pool isn't really that big for any of these things, man. But yeah, I guess we can just circle back like, we've got like 5 more minutes and we'll start to wrap up here, man. So um yeah, yeah, man. So what are some things that we can look forward to as far as Gains Network goes coming into like Q3, Q4?
let's see. Let me check uh cause I cannot spoil some stuff or they will kill me. But well, we recently launched an NFT bot update. So pretty much our NFTs, as you I think touched a bit before, you mentioned them. We have NFTs like built into our platform, and you can either hold one in your wallet, and it decreases the spread that you pay when trading. You can stake it with your GNS. I mean, you can stake GNS tokens and you can share part of the revenue paid in DAI from the trading fees. And if you stake an NFT, you get a boosted rewards. And then you can, we have like a GitHub where you can have your own, you can download an instance of our bot. And the bot is pretty much like a keeper. So, it's just there to trigger liquidations, to trigger limit orders, stop losses, and stuff like that. And in order to actually activate the bot, you need to have an NFT. So that's like the use cases for our NFT and our NFTs. We launched an update to make them more efficient because there were some inefficiencies in the previous one where a, a very few amount of people were kind of dominating the whole scene. And with the new update, it's much more egalitarian for anyone that wants to try. Apart from that, we're bringing lookbacks, and lookbacks is just a fancy word for guaranteed stop losses, take profits, limit orders, and stuff like that. Because right now, sometimes if you have like a, let's say, a limit order to entry, to like enter some position, and the price dips really quickly and then goes back up, then your limit order might not trigger, but with the new update, it will. But that's some boring stuff. Some cool stuff that I'm looking forward to is the custom pairs that I mentioned before. New vault collaterals, so people will be able to stake, let's say, ETH, and people will be able to trade with ETH. We're working with some other projects to integrate their stable coins. So people can, I don't know, stake LUSD, and they can trade with LUSD or with Frax or MAI or all of this. And I think, yeah, I cannot say anything else, or I think the team will kill me. But I think that's a lot to look forward
All good,
to
man.
in the very short term. And we're gonna be implementing governance. We have the researchers working on it because we just don't want to just launch some token governance or some VE that it's not really efficient. So we're looking into what's the best way to have some decent governance. Also locked GNS staking where you can lock it and earn kind of multiplier points, but it's not the same. It's a different implementation to it. But yeah, some things that are coming up, and we're excited.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk shop with us, brother.
My pleasure.
Hopefully we
Thank you
can
for
have you
inviting me.
on. No problem, man. Hopefully we can have you guys on in the coming weeks and coming months and all that stuff. Would love Seb to come on, dude, and have the profile in here and you guys from the BND and growth team as well, and potentially another Arbitrum project as well featured, sort of like an Arbitrum roundtable space. That's something that I've been trying to do for a while, but at the current moment, I'm just getting situated with you guys more individually,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually like have these virtual summit spaces. Man, I think that having a couple of protocols on at the same time, it offers an experience that your like your fans and all that stuff, your users, whatever you want to call them, they would have to pay thousands of dollars to experience in a conference, right? Where
Here we can make
like
it accessible.
devs, yeah. And the devs would only have like 2 or 3 minutes of mic time at these conferences,
Yeah,
but yeah, man, yo, appreciate you. Thank you so much.
my pleasure.
Uh,
And yeah, hopefully we'll do another one. I guess in a couple of months we have some news to discuss, and I'll bring Seb. Uh, and yeah, I think it would be cool this idea you're having of bringing another project or other projects, and we can all talk about Arbitrum or the future that we see in DeFi. I think that would be really cool. So count us in.
that'd be sick, man. And eventually, who knows, bro? Off chain labs. That's like at the top of the food chain,
You need to
man.
keep me updated on
But
that.
for sure, man, for sure. I'll get started on that. Right when conference season starts in a couple of days.
Awesome.
I think ETH Tokyo starts like tomorrow, I think. So all right, man. Thank you so much. We'll have a replay of the space up on our YouTube. Our producer will tweet it out
Awesome.
after the space. So
Um,
thank you all so much.
Also, one
Go
last
ahead.
thing. If any of you guys are coming to Montenegro to the EdCon 2023, I'll be there. I guess I'll be wearing some Gains Network merchandise, so it'll be easy to recognize me. But yeah, if any of you guys come in there, just hit me up.
No doubt, bro. No doubt. Thank you all so much. If you're new to these spaces, feel free to follow us here because Bitcoin, and also follow Luna Man for all things regarding Gains Network. And thank you, Snorlax and Will's Outlook, for coming up on the spaces. So take care, everyone. God bless you. And I'll see you guys later on tonight. So peace out, everyone. Take care. Feel free to follow us if you want to keep up with more of these Arbitrum spaces. And also, don't forget, on Friday, we have our premiere space for the week, which is going to be Eigenlayer, Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time with one of the founders, Sri Ram. So look forward to that. And Luna Man, thank you all once more. Feel free to say hi to the other members of the Gains Network team. And yeah, tell Seb that I look forward to having him hosted on here. So
I
take care,
will.
everyone.
Thank you for inviting me. Bye bye, guys.
No problem.